Hey, everybody, welcome to Cars with Cocktails, a show where Charles and I, aka the home mechanic, drink stuff and talk about car stuff. Today, instead of, I guess, cocktails, normally we drink mixed drinks. We're drinking beers today. I guess that would, I don't know what the actual definition of cocktail is, but I feel like beer kind of qualifies, right?
I have no idea. In my opinion, which is worth nothing, a cocktail is a mixed drink containing a spirit of some sort. However, whatever.
It'll
We're
get you
drinking
drunk
beers tonight.
Yeah.
So I have two beers that I grabbed two because I expected one of these to kind of suck. The first one is from Deep River, which is local to me. It is called the Focuser. Nope, it's not called that. It is called Mango Tango Foxtrot instead of Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, or WTF. I also got the Wiseman. So I've never had either one of these, so it should be good. Maybe, or they'll suck. I don't know. We'll find out.
I went last minute to the gas station and I have a Big Wave Golden Ale. I've never had this before.
Okay.
I did look for some interesting options. Normally gas stations now are actually pretty good around here as far as having good options and stuff like that and variety. Unfortunately, this one only had a bunch of IPAs, and I would rather lick an angry badger's asshole than drink an IPA because, fun fact, I hate IPAs. They taste like shit.
Fun fact, both of these two that I have are IPAs, or also better known as the Angry Beaver Buttholes. I'm curious, though, do you think an angry beaver, you said beaver, right? Or if not,
I think I said badger, but I don't know. I
don't even know. What's the difference? Who knows? I wonder if they're angry, does that make their butthole taste different?
Maybe, but I know out of all the flavors, I just now was pretty salty. So,
it's an acquired taste.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you can. So you can taste your IPAs and see how you like them.
I don't taste much badger butthole.
Oh wow.
And this one's not bad. A little more like soapy bitterness than I care for generally. Not terrible. I'm going to open this one just for fun. And I also just love the sound of cans opening. I feel like that one did it. This focus of this camera is going to drive me nuts. If I were smarter, I'd figure out how to lock it, but
it's a problem. But today we're talking about shitty jobs.
The focusing job of this camera.
That is one job that is shitty. We're talking about shitty jobs. This is in reference to, I guess we would say work for technicians as a general rule would be kind of the over umbrella, although it kind of applies to DIY people too, if you're planning to do one of these jobs, which would be considered shitty. I
would probably classify it in like shitty car repair things, no matter who you are. There's, I think, some universal things that there's always going to be that one dude that's like, I love doing that stuff. It's the best. Mm-hmm. Cool, bro. If that's you, then you can enjoy how wrong we are and how much better you are than we are. However, universally, I think there's some stuff that pretty much blows to have to do.
What's the thing that comes to mind, the shittiest thing that you've had to do?
So typically, shittiest thing, when I think of like shit jobs and things that I don't want to do, there's two that come to mind. This is more in the professional environment because there's the clock ticking. One, body harnesses, sucks balls. Two, dash work where the dash and all the wiring behind the dash have to come out. So this was heater cores and things like that. Some of the new stuff, actually, the heater cores are stupid easy to do. Of course, they clog all the time, so that's kind of nice. But yeah, body harnesses and dash out type work are not my favorite.
Yeah. And would that be qualify as like in memory of you being a tech, which, you know, it's getting further in a rear view now. as you age and become an old person. What's the one thing that you've done that you feel like stands out in your mind of like, oh man, that sucked?
I'm gonna think on that one.
Okay, I'll tell you the one thing, and this wasn't the worst thing I've ever done, but I remember it sucked shit. Is my first week flat rate, I had a V10 TDI.
Stop.
and the customer had left their sunroof open, and it rained overnight. And it had a myriad of number of issues. And there's all kinds of faults for all different things. Eventually, long story short, TechLine, if you're not familiar, that's what dealers use for very technical problems, or if you don't know how to diagnose cars, you help use them as a crutch.
Did you check the fuse? Yeah, I checked the fuse.
Yeah. But they had me rewire the entire fuse panel under the cowl for a Touareg.
That sucks.
And
I could see that sucking hard.
I remember when it happened, I was like, this isn't going to fix it. I don't know what's going to fix it, but this isn't going to fix it. And this is about to make a nightmare happen because, yeah, I don't know if you recall where the location of that is. It's right near the hood hinge in that kind of cowl area. And repinning every one of those, I don't know how many pins it is, like, I don't know, 200 pins or something like that. With butt connectors, inevitably something bad's going to happen, which did, because when you crimp 200 butt connectors, eventually one of them is going to have a not so great connection.
Imagine trying to make a wiring repair inside of this can. Is kind of how little room you actually have when you're doing butt connection type things. Now, someone in the comments will say, well, you should have just soldered it. That is not an acceptable factory repair from Volkswagen. So you can put the solder on the shelf for now where it can crack and crumble and make a poor connection.
Right. And that's, I think, people don't know why, is because automotive wiring is malleable because it has to hold up to vibration and constant movement and temperature cycling and all that stuff. And solder is fragile, would you say? What would be?
I would say it is very rigid when used as a wiring repair. So look, if you're soldering a chip onto a circuit board, there's no movement between the chip and the circuit board. When you're soldering a wiring connection, the odds of that wire need to flex or move are much higher. So yeah. And plus the other thing I feel like is most people don't solder very well. So it's also a little bit of a safety net. Now, these connections are actually really, really good. In a lot of cases, stronger than the actual wire that's itself. So I am not interested in having the solders better than a crimp connection debate. I think when done properly, both are really damn good.
Yeah.
However, it doesn't matter because talking about that shit show of wiring that it sounds like you had to do, that also the worst fucking part didn't fix the car. What ended up fixing that car?
Oh man, I'll be honest with you. That car had a variety of things that got done, and eventually it was some combination of some repairs along the way, along with issues with load intervention between the two different batteries. And I forget exactly the details of what it was, but it was a long time ago. And I just recall the load intervention problem as with the trunk battery had something to do with the final solution. But I fucking, whatever. It was my first week flat rate. It was 2004.
A hot minute ago, in other words. Yeah. For me, the problem with that wiring repair is two things. Not my problem wouldn't be that it was repairing wire, because I actually really do enjoy doing that. If you remember, like the B5 Passats and A4s and probably other Audis as well, where the pollen filter housing would leak or the sunroof drains would clog, there would get water under the floorboards. It would soak the TCM or the convenience module. Dude, repinning those was one of my favorite things to do. One, it paid fucking awesome. Two, you got this whole stack of wires. You could just sit next to the car, crimp, splice, crimp, cut, crimp, heat, wrap, and you're done. And when you had this mound of like bits of wire, nobody would bother you. Everybody would leave you alone. So it was great to me. The problem with that one, not fixing the car, first fucking problem. Bullshit. Thanks, Techline. It's easy when you're sitting behind a computer saying, hey, why don't you try this, with no repercussion of being wrong. And two, it's the space you're working in. I mean, you're legit working in this tiny box.
The one thing exactly. And not even, because it's almost vertically, because you didn't have a lot of vertical space to pull that fuse box out. The space you had to work in was almost non-existent. I mean, you're talking about like a few, 6 inches probably of what you had to do and crimped all those connections, which inevitably one of the things that happened is that we had a bad connection and the car would stall out occasionally and lose all power while you were driving. Which I don't know if you've ever had a V10 TDI turn off while you were driving it, but steering a V10 TDI with no power steering is terrifying with no power brakes either.
No power steering, no power brakes.
Yeah.
You're lucky if the steering wheel didn't damn lock, because that was all electric. What a shit show. I remember so vividly when the Tourags were new, and there wasn't a job that anybody wanted to do on those. And, kind of like you, when those were fresh, I was the newest fucking technician in the shop. So it got to hey, give it to the new guy. And eventually, you figure it out and realize, wow, there's a shitload of money to be made on Tourags. And now they're so stupid cheap. I saw a VR6 Tourag 0405 for like $2,500 the other day. I was like, shit, that's a hell.
Well, dude, I bought
for $2,500.
I bought our Tourag for $1,200. Ended up needing a head, but it could have only needed a timing chain adjuster at the time, or at least typical like, oh, it only needs a timing this, and it's like
it needs a fuel pump or an AC recharge.
Well, or you get it needs a timing sensor. Like, oh, it just needs a timing sensor. Yeah. I don't have a time to fix it. Yeah. And it's like, is that what it is? Really? Now this woman actually was as forthcoming as she knew, and it was at a shop that didn't specialize, so they weren't really. I don't think they dyed that thoroughly. Valve cover wasn't off or anything. So
they definitely put a G28 in it, though. You know that. For sure.
Well, that's a crank sensor for those not familiar. Anytime one of these cars comes in with cam crank correlation faults, people start blasting cam and crank sensors at them to no avail over and over, sometimes multiple times.
Yeah. Just keep putting them in. Eventually one of them will fix it.
Yeah. Well, usually what happens is the hilarious progression is this. Is like, okay, they have an older, not expensive vehicle. They get these cam crank correlation faults. They go buy the cheapest eBay, Amazon cam crank sensor. They put it in, doesn't fix the car. And they're like, man, maybe it's just this cheap, shitty one I bought. Let me buy a better one. So then they'll buy like a Bosch one or a factory one or whatever, and then they'll install that. And then that doesn't fix it. And then they'll come to someone like us and they'll be like, hey, you sold me a bad cam sensor. And it's like, did we sell you a bad cam sensor? You sure about that? Because that's not the way bad parts work. And then eventually they'll resign themselves to maybe something else is going on. So, we actually shockingly have a car that at the shop that has not been finalized in terms of diagnosis yet, because I unfortunately had to get put on the back burner. But very interesting. Car is A4. What is it? A FSI A4. So a B7. And it has sporadic and weak spark on 2 cylinders, 2 and 4, maybe I think it's 2 and 4, and the other cylinders are sparking now, not great, but the amount of times it's sparking is not proportionate to the number of times that the engine's turning. we haven't gotten through. We have some more stuff we have to look at, whatever. But it's not the person actually did put cam and cranksensors in it, which is making me think of it before they brought it to us. And I think he kind of threw his hands up. And to be frank, for a DIY person, with what's going on, I'm like, he also had a spare ECM he put in it too, and that doesn't do anything. So
damn,
it's a pretty wild situation that those two companion cylinders are not having the appropriate spark. I think it might be a mechanical problem with the reluctor pickup or something like that. We have to look into it more, but yeah. Anyway,
sounds like a fun diagnosis.
Yeah. It should be interesting. So yeah, shitty jobs. Back to the shitty job. Oh, one of the shitty jobs through my short stint as a tech was not really. I was probably someone who took on way more shitty jobs than I should have. One of the things that I would say I didn't walk away from, but I didn't allow it to be dumped on my plate like I did most things, is we had a tech who was kind of a dirtbag who is known for kind of skating away from anything that was hard just because it didn't make him money. And he had a V10 TDI, not the same V10 TDI, but a different V10 TDI, came in for turbo-related faults that seemed like it needed turbos. And it was under warranty. So he cleared the faults, and it was one of those things that... with him, it's hard to say. It's like one of those things like, let's clear them and see if they come back, or let's just clear them and hope somebody else has to deal with it later.
Yeah, man. The number of fucking techs that I've seen do that bullshit stuff, like there's a place for clearing that shit out. Yeah. But dude, fuck you if you do that shit.
So he's more likely to be the latter would be my guess, but I don't know for sure. But car came back, ticket got given to me. Blah. I look at it. I'm like, oh, Jesus, this fucking thing needs turbos. And if you're not familiar, V10 TI turbos are a pretty large undertaking. They require dropping the entire engine transmission, blah, blah. V10 TDIs are son of a bitch to work on in general. And so I want to know part of it. And I look up the history. I see like, oh, this fucking guy had this same car and all we did was clear the faults. Yeah, you can do turbos on this, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, that that is definitely one of those things that one pisses me off to no end, and two, yeah, you did the right thing. When you have all the right stuff, all the special tools and all the equipment, they're not terrible to work on, but try doing turbos on that like at home on jack stands and
no chance. No. I don't even know if I guess you probably could. I mean, even at our shop, we don't have the correct table, like whatever, but we have a table that has a 3,000 pound capacity that we can drop full engine transmission subframes on, then lift the car off. It doesn't have the motorized with the pins in it, whatever. But gets the job done. But that's a far cry from the situation you run into at home, which is like, how are you going to drop an engine and trans on a Touareg onto something and then get it back into the car?
Yeah, I think that getting it back into the car, even with a lift, like that, it's no small task. And Volkswagen, Audi, they have this really trick. It's like a $12,000 lift table that you can raise, you can lower, you can tilt, you can also pitch side to side, back and forth. It also is threaded with a number of different holes, and there's all these adapters. So legit, like you basically trace out your pattern, put these things in specific spots, and you just go right up. It clips into where it's supposed to. You unbolt like 10 bolts and you lower the whole entire thing down. And then what's cool is you can slide the transmission and engine apart. But most people and most shops don't have that $10,000 table. There is another table though that's like $5,000.
Jamie
that
has
is
it. Yeah,
AGT or something like that. It might not have the acronym right, but I actually thought about buying one. They were going to give me a super killer deal, but I just don't have anywhere to store it.
Yeah, that's the problem with those things. They're they're enormous in terms of size. I mean, if you're not familiar, I mean, that table is probably as big as a Mark I, just slightly skinnier.
It's probably, this camera focus thing is driving me insane. I got to figure out how to lock that. It's probably 2.5 feet by 8 feet, 10 feet, maybe.
It might be longer than a Mark I, honestly. It might be bigger than a Mark I. It's enormous. And the reality is that you don't use it that often. So spending $5,000, $7,000. Our buddy Jamie, who we have some project working with in the future, and I know Charles just did a live with him on TikTok before this. He has a table like that. I know because he posted some video talking about I think 4-liter stuff, and I was like, "Ooh, you're super fancy with your table,
fancy boy."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a cool table, and if I had the space to store it and not for it to just turn into another workbench, I would, because I don't know if you can see right back here, I got the diff out on the R32, which would have been cool to like just bring the table up, unbolt it, and lower it down. But it's sitting on top of a toolbox, which is getting it done too.
Yeah, it gets the job done. Yeah, so aside from that, I'm trying to think of other jobs. I mean, obviously, a dealer techs would always say water leaks are going to be probably the biggest one, which, I think in the scope of being a shitty job, it isn't a shitty job, except for the fact that dealer techs are not getting paid proper diag.
Yeah, you get paid like shit for it. So that's the shitty part.
Right. It's not really, water leaks are honestly kind of easy. You just have to do the work to take apart all the shit to diagnose it. But the shitty part is really the fact that you're going to get jammed on diag because VW, if you're not familiar, VW doesn't pay very well, and they don't allow dealers to properly collect for diagnosing water leaks.
The worst part is Volkswagen pays better than most other brands do. When the Rutan came out, also fuck the Rutan. When the Rutan came out, aka Chrysler Town and Country, aka Dodge Caravan, aka Plymouth Voyager. Is that right?
Voyager. By that point, the Voyager I think was long dead.
No, it's fucking shitbird ass bullshit lived on in the Rutan. What a piece of garbage. I have a special hatred for the Rutan through and through, if you can't tell.
I don't care. I care for the Rutan at all either.
They wouldn't pay anything but like 0.2 diag, no matter what the problem was. You get 12 minutes of diagnosis time. Of course, it would take you 25 minutes to get the fucking Y-Tech to work because the shit was a pile of garbage and none of the dealership networks were set up properly for it in the VW world. Also, it was fucking garbage and worked like shit and functionality was terrible. The only cool thing was you had a flight recorder mode that none of our VW stuff had, but what a fucking disaster, just period, shit job. It was easy to work on and like maintenance was super easy, but yeah, I'd take never working on another one of those things again. But that's to kind of circle back to say, I think as a dealer tech, the reason I think most jobs are shitty jobs
is because you're getting jammed on time.
Is you're not getting paid appropriately. Exactly. Like doing a heater cord kind of sucks. Pulling the dash, it's not hard, but there's a lot of screws and a lot of hidden stuff. And as cars age out, the plastic gets mad brittle. So you end up with a lot of broken tabs and things not fitting together right, and whatnot. But the big problem was you got fucked on time most of the time, right? There's the way to do the B5s that you got paid really well. But that's like the only one. Mark IVs, I think like Beetles would pay about 4 hours start to finish. That's everything. That's evac,
which
that's fill coolant.
That's legit impossible. Like
no, it's not impossible. It's also much easier in a convertible because you could drop the top down and stand in the car. But you have got to work fucking fast
and you have to
hard
know
and
exactly
deep.
What you're doing. Oh my goodness.
Took a weird turn there. Fast, hard, and deep. But yeah, you gotta know going in where every screw is, where every bolt is. The worst part is going back together. You have to order it not exactly the opposite way, right? It might have to go back together a little different because you took this bracket out, but you could have taken this one out, but you got to put them back together in the right order or shit doesn't fit. And yeah, I do them, and like I'll be pulling the one on the blue car. I'll probably be pulling the dash on this black car, but it's going to be 100 times better without having the fucking clock tick, 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 tick. You're not going fast enough. Tick, 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 tick. Oh, that plastic sounds like it's going to break. Oops, now it's broken. Now you got to buy a $200 piece of trim, or like the wood grain shift knobs on the Passats that were like $400 that always broke because they were old as hell when we were doing heater cores.
Yeah. There is certainly, as vehicles age, and I guess we're probably going to find out pretty soon about some aged vehicles on our new project, how many things are going to break along the way.
He looked at it wrong. It's broken.
Old cars, they get brittle, shit breaks. That's probably maybe a conversation for another day of having conversations about broken stuff with customers and whatever, because
the host is Paul. Are you back?
I'm back. Very nice. I'm back.
So you were just like, bleh.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. And I was all like messing with my hair and fixing my hat and shit.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Did you powder up while I was gone to make your
powdered my nose beautiful? And my other things.
Well, you gotta stay powdered. I like the pop collar. That's a nice touch.
Yeah. Is this a good look?
This is
my shop.
A really good early 2000s look.
Yeah.
Where you would have a collar popped, and then maybe you even put another collar underneath that collar.
Double. Oh, I can do that.
Ooh, you double pop.
Wait, hold on. There's one. Can you see it? One pop. You couldn't see. You'd have to like.
What you really need to do to make it really come in there is you got to have two different colored shirts.
I'm 50 shades of gray, bro.
Yeah,
well, 2 shades of gray.
It's mostly the same. It looks like the same shade of gray, basically.
Yeah. Well, it's, one has been washed more. Also, this shirt makes me look like I have big boobs. Weird. Anyway, back to shitty jobs was the boob job that I got a while ago that, anyway, yeah. So I don't know what the hell else are shitty jobs. Breaking shit sucks. Here's another shitty job. Volkswagen Cabrio window regulators rank in the top 3 of my most hated fucking things to do.
I don't think I've ever done them.
The adjustment on them is shitty. I got to the point. So this is really weird. Like as a technician, I feel like you end up getting like labeled as you're the guy for this thing, right? At least that's how it was in my shop. Everybody did everything. So we didn't have like a transmission guy or an engine guy, but when someone found out you were like good at something or didn't bitch about getting certain work, you ended up being that guy.
Yes.
What happened to me was probably even worse. So very early on, I like I mentioned, I got to be the Touareg guy, which was fine because those paid really, really well. But I bought a Cabrio. It was my first Volkswagen I ever had that I paid like next to nothing for. So then I got labeled as the Cabrio guy. It kind of happened that I ended up being the Mark III guy, which was pretty rare anyway. But Cabrios, we still got a lot of. And let me tell you, there was not much worse than in, let's see, 06, pulling a Cabrio in, writing up this big ass gravy estimate of oil leaks and all these things, and them going, it's under powertrain, go ahead and fix it, because the shit was still covered under warranty. That sucked. But yeah, so I got labeled as the Cabrio guy because I had one. So anytime one came in, I got to work on it. Most of the time that worked out really well. But I ended up doing so many window regulators that I had started to trace where the clamps were on the old one so that I could get it kind of lined up on the new one. But even still, dude, I had one, I spent like 2 hours trying to get adjusted to where the window worked perfectly. There was no air leaks and there was no what. Maybe the problem was it was supposed to have air.
I lost you again. Oh, are you back? Oh,
So
here
is
I
that-
am.
Here he is again on his own.
Apparently, I'm having some problems today. All I want to do is a zoom, 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 and a boom, boom.
Yeah,
Shake around.
technological differences. I was just saying things about words. No real anything of value as
Cabrio. We basically Cabrios suck shit to do regulators on. I've never done one. I've done Beetle convertible rear and front regulators back in the day.
I feel like thousands of those. Doing the spring kit wasn't bad. Doing actual like glass, that kind of sucked because there's an up adjustment, a front to back adjustment,
and a
tilt adjustment. That you had to like walk all three adjustments in at the same time, and it wasn't too bad. But yeah, I've broken a handful of Beetle windows.
How about Eos Convertible Top Repairs?
So all of the ones that I've done, now I've never had to replace the entire top, thankfully, weren't really that bad. I've had to do a handful of wiring repairs like up in the top. And those weren't too bad because it's usually only 2 wires. I did have to go back behind someone and fix the cables. It's been a long time, so I'm trying to remember. Like the cables that allowed the sunshade to go back, I think. We had one that was kind of cool. The lady was in an accident and it did like minor damage to the front, but the top was in a position, I don't remember if it was up or down, where it broke. There's these little peanuts that that sit in these tracks. And so I don't know if you've ever noticed, for those of you guys that don't know the EOS really well, it's a hardtop convertible with a sunroof, right? And so what happens is there's these arms that come in and they lock in the header right where the windshield is. So, and then the sunroof closes. So when you open the top, the sunroof comes back, then the arms unlatch and they come back and they actually spread open and come back and then lock in next to and behind where the rear seats are. Well, the way it does it, there's this little track that forces them to do that. And there's this little pivoting, they call it a peanut because it looked like a peanut that rode in this track. Well, those peanuts broke. And technically this was not something you could repair from, according to Volkswagen. Well, there's like 7 QTMs that came to my dealership to fix this one and do like all the new seals on the A arms. I think they're the A arms and whatnot. So I got paid like 25 hours to fix this EOS and I didn't do shit. So that was pretty awesome.
That's neat. Yeah,
I supervised and handed tools.
Watch a technician replace an EOS top. This is by the time I had gone into parts. He replaced the entire assembly, which was quite fascinating. I believe it involved a cherry picker.
Yeah, there's a jig or an adapter that you have to use for the engine hoist and clamp it on. And it's actually only like 7 bolts that holds that whole top in.
Yeah.
It's the adjustment that I think the one we had ended up going to the body shop or some crazy stuff like that. I don't recall anyone ever doing one at the dealership while I worked there.
I feel like I would not trust a body shop to do that type of work. It's likely to end up with wood screws in it somewhere. Wait, can we talk about, hold on, now that we're going down the road of shitty jobs, can we talk about how body shops use wood screws in every car they work on? I was
going to ask if we've done a body shops episode, because let me tell you,
body shops legitimately, and unless they are, if you're and I will say this, I've worked with one body shop that was a certified VW and Audi body shop, and I think they had other high-end brands too that they had done. They would put cars together back perfectly. They are the exception, not the rule. Otherwise, 99.9% of the time, you are getting wood screws, even if they don't even need new hardware. They just want to run a wood screw into something just to fucking do it because they love fucking wood screws.
Oh my gosh, dude. I've seen some hack work come from other shops. I've seen some hack work come from DIYers trying to fix stuff themselves. I have seen more hack fucking straight garbage shit from body shops than all the rest of them combined. I don't understand how a place can keep the doors open with just some of the... It's so bad that I would trust one of those fly-by-night fucking DUI breathalyzer installation places before I would trust a fair number of body shops. If you work in a body shop and you're like, man, fuck this dude, he's an asshole, my body shop's great. You also know that I'm right, and the majority of your colleagues are fucking terrible and hacks, don't give a shit, have terrible time frames, paint worth of crap, can't take an interior goddamn trim fucking piece apart without fucking it up or getting their dick beater fingerprints all over it. Pretty much the only thing worse than a damn body shop is a handful of fucking machine shops, which just give no fucks about anything. Because damn, y'all, seriously, what the fuck?
I will to defend.
Who's salty now, by the way?
That was a very salty flavor. That was extremely salty.
Pink Himalayan, bro. That's how I roll.
The body shop. It's possible that Johnny Little Body Shop guy maybe works at an amazing body shop, and this is his only body shop job he's ever had. So maybe he doesn't know that most of the work that comes out of body shops is just dog shit terrible.
Yeah, it's straight trash. Now, I'm going to be a little fair to body shops. A lot of times, well, I still blame you because I can't accept that you're okay with letting that level of work, like just straight trash workmanship, go out of your building. But there is more that goes into play, and a lot of times insurance companies are actually the driver behind that bullshit work that comes out of body shops.
100%. It's fair. That is a different part of the business. Is if you want to be a real body shop, if you're a big body shop business, you are in bed with the enemy. And so you are sleeping with Joseph Goebbels every night. You have sex with him, and yeah, that's the way it works. That's a Nazi. That's a Nazi reference. Man, they're committing automotive genocide on a daily basis, one wood screw at a time.
One wood screw and one orange wire nut at a time.
That's the way it works. All right, guys? Man, that's the way it works.
Yeah, we're pulling back the veil of the automotive industry. You think automotive technicians are hacks? Woo, doggy. No,
you haven't seen nothing yet.
Some of my best friends work in a body shop, so that's not true at all. I've actually been struggling to find a body shop to even deal with the damn rust on this, which you can see. You can see it right there. That's rust, that brown turdy spot. Right there on the R32. But anyway, I also have a tremendous respect for the art of body repair because it is a skill set that I do not have. I think so. Props to you if you are good.
100%. I think two things. One, you and I probably both lack the skill to be body guys.
100%.
B, probably the patience to be body guys.
Also 100%.
And because of that, I just feel like I think the biggest issue is two things. One, it's a skill set gap because they're expected to do everything, to be the turnkey everything. So they're great at the one side and suck shit at the other side. And then you bring in the insurance company situation where they're not paying for the appropriate amount. And so they just get the fucking car put together. Doesn't matter what it takes.
You're paying $25. Here you go. $25 worth.
Right.
Looks like this engine that I painted right back here that turned out like shit that I'm salty about. Speaking of salt.
There's a lot of salt going on tonight.
I tell you.
It started with my
kicking off. Wait, is this our first show of the year?
This is our first show of the year, and man, are we starting out salty.
21 salty as a fucking motherfucker, y'all.
Yeah. We are real upset about a lot of things. One, IPAs, 2, body shops. What else were you really upset about? Oh, technicians who pass the buck and try to skate out of hard jobs. That one got you pretty jacked up.
There's a technician that I worked with that was notorious for this. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. So the term we use for that when somebody would do that would be called Sea Dog in it, because we called this technician Sea Dog. So yeah, what are you trying to Sea Dog that ticket? That's where you sit on your box and just nurse a job that you should get done because you thought the next ticket in was something shitty that you didn't want to do, like V10 Touareg turbochargers.
Yeah, it's a real douche move. I never even paid that close attention to it. Like I would see, you would see guys who, when we went to like automatic dispatch, they would see a shitty car come into the drive that they didn't want, which would be like, for example, for the average person at home, a Rialta would be one thing.
There's like 4 people that know that. Although in this audience, probably a pretty high percentage. That is the
Eurovan
Volkswagen
motorhome.
Yeah, we didn't work on many of those. They wouldn't fit in the shop. But I was there not long ago, and they had like props to the dealer for doing this shit. I would not have been okay with this. Also, fucking shit job. They, I think, did like a full suspension rebuild on this Rialta. So they had it at the front of the shop. So if you were in the waiting area and like walked to the door to the shop, which was all glass, you would just see fucking boom, Rialta. So Eurovan with a motorhome in the back, up on fucking jack stands, doing the whole suspension on this thing. I'm like, I hope this motherfucker got paid, because you wouldn't see me doing that. I say that. I probably would have done it if I had to, but I would not have been happy about it.
I actually happen to know a little more insight as to that vehicle because...
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Because Rusty asked for some help from me. That vehicle belonged to the used car manager I think it was a used car manager there. So it wasn't just a regular customer, but...
That I didn't know.
Yeah, it was somebody within the group from the variable end. If you're not familiar, dealerships are known as variable and fixed ops. Variable is what you would call the dark side.
Yeah, we did an episode about that.
Yeah,
the dark side. Anyway, what other jobs? I feel like we're missing some shitty jobs. Like, there's got to be more.
How about
dash rattles? I don't love fixing dash rattles.
You want to do like spark plugs on a W8?
I don't mind spark plugs on a W8.
Didn't you? You had to take the manifold off, right? Is that right?
Yeah. So the manifold
the
on
sides of the manifold, right?
Yeah. It's just like 4 more bolts. It's not that big of a deal. Tell you a job that does suck. Oil change on a V8 Phaeton sucks, especially.
You take out the airbox.
Especially when you get paid the same exact amount as you would have gotten paid on a fucking V6 Passat no belly pan, which was the best oil change until they put the filter on the top. Then that became
they were a dream. The V6 Passat was a dream.
No belly pan though. It had to have no belly pan. Otherwise, you had to hodgepodge that shit with wood screws from the body shop back together. So yeah, it was always like belly pan because you had the oil filter and the drain plug were right there. You could use the same bucket, fucking drain them both at the same time. Dream come true.
Yeah, they were great. I think we got paid 0.8. I want to say for a Phaeton oil change.
So
is that right?
It's actually, that's low. I think book time on it was like 0.9.
Yeah.
Maybe more than that.
As somebody who was the resident person who took shitty work and never got any gravy, I've done my fair share of V8 of Phaeton oil changes, so I know exactly.
So many of them. It sucks. It's messy and dumb, and
if you're not familiar, V8 and a Phaeton is much like a Touareg, except for the only difference is the oil filter, you had to remove the air box from the car and then take the oil filter, which is a canister, out from the top side and then drain the oil from the bottom. But you could see why that would be a complete goddamn mess and disaster. And not to mention, you're doing it in a very expensive car, which at the time dates us quite a bit here, is they were fairly new. They were basically new cars. By the way,
they were brand new when I first started.
We just got a Phaeton in the shop. I didn't even post the video yet. The cleanest Phaeton I've seen in forever. 96,000 miles, which is, high-ish mileage, but for the year, not that high. But man, this Phaeton was beautiful. The paint wasn't perfect, but the car was nice still. And you and I both know most Phaetons in 2021 now, they are fucked up.
You're on like fourth owner by now, and man, first of all, what a fucking awesome car when it's like right. I would, if I could find a decent one for reasonable, I would buy one. They're fucking awesome.
Well, for people who don't know, I mean, they were a baller ass car for their day.
Yeah.
And this car
was like $90,000 Volkswagen, 90 to like 112.
Well, they got a little lower. V8 started around like 70. I remember one in our showroom was 77,000. In when I first dealer I worked at, but they got up to like a W12 would get up to like 115-ish, I think.
Yeah.
Which at the time was a fuck ton of money. I mean, you're talking about 115 today is probably something like 160 grand. You know,
that's about right.
I mean, think about that. $160,000 for a Volkswagen is crazy. Now, granted, they are extremely luxurious. This car has massaging seats, which I don't know if you've ever been had a hangover and had to work on a Phaeton with massaging seats. But I know I'm not going to mention who has, but I'm just going to say,
you know, a guy.
I've heard of a guy who had a hangover and was working on a Phaeton with massaging seats, and it was a positive experience, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Did it give you a nice ball breeze?
I don't recall if that car had seats. I don't recall if that car had ventilated HVAC seats or not. It probably did, but
that was such a baller car, though. I mean, it was a decked out Audi A8L, and you were paying every bit of the premium for it.
Yeah, I think it was about 20 grand less than A8L, and basically you're getting the same car minus the fact that it's not an all aluminum body. Which I don't know if you know, that was one of the biggest differences. A8Ls had all aluminum bodies, which made them lighter, probably faster, handled better, blah, blah. But otherwise, it was mostly the same car. It also made them extremely complicated and expensive to own.
Yeah, they did in that. I'm trying to think of any shit jobs that I had on Phaetons other than oil changes. Oil changes was worse. So we got paid 0.4 for years on the A8, the Phaeton oil change on a V8.
That's pretty wild.
And
that's pretty wild.
0.4. So I got pissed off one day and I'm like, I'm not doing it. And, I had a pretty good conversation with the boss man about it. And he's like, all right, we'll do a time study. So I did a time study and it took me 0.8, like hustling.
Right.
To do the oil change. And so I think we moved it to like right at an hour. I'm like, man, fucking 0.4 is bullshit.
Right.
Oil change.
Yeah. Oil change pay should be, I think it should be around the hustling number because it's not really the thing you're going there to make.
Right. And it's a loss leader for the shop. You're not making money on oil changes.
No one's making money.
I get it.
So, but at the same time, I don't think someone should be losing their fucking ass either. So, you got to find that balance for sure. But let's see other shitty jobs. I mean, I'll say this: my S4 starter sucked shit to a do. Now, I will say this: a lot of that is because I don't work on cars every day anymore, or I haven't in forever. I basically, practically never have relative to the time in the industry. If I had to do it again, it'd be a hell of a lot easier. Whatever. So I got my ass kicked for sure the first time, and I would not get my ass kicked quite so badly next time.
Well, that's their reasoning behind the labor times, right? You're only going to get your ass kicked the first time. After that, you'll be faster. You'll
totally not lose time other than just the one time, but every job you've only done the one time, you lose that. So where does that time go?
Yeah. So you'll be okay. You'll find a way to make up for it. Fly.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people also, and I actually disagree with this based on my experience, would say that anything under warranty is kind of a shit job. And I understand why they feel that way. However, I completely disagree. I was really good at making money under warranty. In fact, in a lot of cases, I would prefer it because one, there's nobody to sell the work to. So you don't have to make a phone call, wait for a customer to approve or decline or any of that. It's you find the broken shit and you fix it. And what really helped me was proper documentation and actually, doing my fucking job. Like, look, the brand tells you what they want. You can either not do that and fucking scoff at what they say, or you can be not a dumbass and you can use their system to your advantage, right? It's like paying taxes. The tax code is 17,000 pages. Well, like 5 of those pages tells you what you have to do. The rest of it tells you how to get the fuck out of it. Working on a manufacturer warranty line is the same exact thing. They tell you what you want. The rest of it is a gray area. So you find the places where you can capitalize on that. You win because you get paid. The customer gets their car fixed and you have followed all the rules. And for the technicians that do that, you can make a lot of money under warranty. A lot of money.
I think what I just heard you say is I need to do a better job of cheating on my taxes. I think I just want to be clear. I think that's what you said.
I would never say that. I hire a tax person and they handle all of my things. So if they say I can do it, I do it. And if they say no, I say, are you sure? Because what about this? And they're like, oh yeah, that's a good point. And sometimes they still say no.
Yeah, me too. I just kind of resign myself to getting fucked. Yeah.
Welcome to owning a business. I swear, if people ran their own business and actually had to pay taxes instead of just having it removed automatically, there would be a fucking revolution tomorrow.
Yes,
tomorrow.
I concur. That's a whole different topic. But other shitty jobs, I feel like I agree with your general sentiment. Is warranty stuff. People feel like warranty, from a technician perspective, people feel like warranty, you're automatically getting fucked. And I actually don't agree with that. I think, like you said, documentation is a big part of it, and knowing how to properly document so you ensure you're actually getting paid properly for the work you're doing is a big part of it. And I watched a guy who was known for Touareg stuff, pencil whip the shit out of warranty stuff nonstop, and he barely did any work on Touaregs. Or barely any work on vehicles, and would oftentimes do things that I would consider to be shady. But the general thing I took away from that is that there's a lot of opportunity if you know how to properly write a story to actually get paid properly. And so the opportunity does exist out there. It's just a matter of making sure you document it properly. And the problem I think is that a lot of technicians just want to, in their mind, they just want to show up and fix cars. And it's like, yeah, but that's only a part of your job. And yeah, when you work in an independent repair shop like ours, you mostly do that. You don't spend the same time writing stories and type of stuff that you would do at a dealership, because you're not spending all this time documenting for warranty. We have to document for our customers' sake. But other than that, we don't really need to do a lot of documentation. A lot of it's really on the side of mostly just informing them, making sure we document the process properly, and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, the documentation part was huge for me, and I just, there's a time where it's not worth the effort. You just resign to the fact that you're going to get fucked. But overall, like, the amount of times I actually truly got fucked on warranty is no more than the times where you're working on a customer's car and you're doing an oil change and you have to extract 5 of the belly pan screws on their Beetle convertible because they were triple squares, and the customer liked to launch the fucking car off a shit and flatten the the bolt, so your triple square didn't fit in it, right? So
air hammer, dog, air hammer.
Yeah, so yeah, I get why people. So I think the main reason why technicians feel like they're getting fucked under warranty, and this is important to note, is that the time a technician gets paid for a job. So let's just make up an imagination job, a brake job. Yes, it's not warranty. Leave all the other shit about what I'm going to say on the fucking shelf because it's not the point. This is just a fucking example. A brake job under warranty might pay 1 hour. A brake job, same parts, everything. If a customer is paying for it, might pay 1.5 hours. So as a technician, you're thinking, wow, I'm getting fucked out of half an hour on this job because it's warranty instead of the customer paying for it. Meanwhile, it's probably going to take you 35 minutes. So you're winning either way. If you document your shit right, you could probably get an hour, 1.6 hours out of it. Because if you do all your work that you're supposed to do, it's not going to take you any longer and you're going to get paid more. So that's why technicians hate warranty work. They feel like they're getting fucked. But in all honesty, you're going to get fucked sometimes, but most of the time you're not getting fucked nearly as bad as it feels like it.
Can we talk about the idea of pulling in a Beetle convertible oil change is old, like at 80,000 mile Beetle convertible oil change, and that those fucking bolts are just completely shaved flat, and you're just like, fuck.
Yeah, that's when you wish you would have sat on your toolbox and not pulled that job. And it's not a fucking hard diagnosis. Yeah. It's a fucking... Here's another job that I hate. Just flat out, I hate doing oil changes. I really do. If I never had to change another oil in a car in my life, I'd be good. In fact, on Thursday, I'm going to drive my happy ass in my wife's Touareg to the dealership to pay to have an oil change done. Because fuck changing the oil in a V6 diesel Touareg.
I don't think I've ever personally changed oil in a V6 diesel Touareg.
So this is going to blow your mind. You're going to be so surprised at the level of
filters
engineering.
In the back of the engine, right?
What? Yeah, the filter's easy. The filter, it's like at a weird angle. It's up top. You just put a little pig mat down, you're fine. The problem is the drain plug. So it's clear that these vehicles are meant to have the oil extracted through the dipstick funnel, in my opinion. Also based on information that's come from the manufacturer. So
you got an extractor dog? Nah.
Extractor dog. Tractor dog. Smackter dog. Don't smack dogs. That's not cool. So anyway, you have the subframe that runs across the front. Your oil pan is here. The drain plug is like here. So when you take the drain plug out, the oil goes, it hits the subframe and shoots everywhere. It makes a fucking mess. So I'm happy to pay like $16 in labor to let my guy change the oil.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you. Especially diesel oil because it's especially gross and dirty.
Yeah.
Diesel oil can get fucked. That's how I feel. And back to the Beetle convertible oil change. The thing that I think we maybe didn't do a good job of communicating that you and I kind of telepathically communicated, and the people who are also VW techs know, is that Beetle convertibles have a metal skid plate underneath of them for chassis rigidity. But they also have bolts that hold them in that are larger than the average belly pan screw. And they have triple squares, which is like a Torx with a lot of points on it. And what would happen is as the cars would scrape over different pavement, it would shave the head of that triple square to where the metal would fill in the hole of where the bit is supposed to go. So then you could no longer...
How many times have you taken a pocket screwdriver and had to pick the dirt out of the...
Well, the dirt is the dirt's the easy part. It's when there's fucking metal that's smushed into and like ground into the hole when you got a real problem on your hands. So that's what the frustration we're talking about is when not only are they filled with dirt and debris and shit from the road, which is kind of normal, but when they're filled with the metal that was pushed from the other part of the bolt head into the hole where your bit's supposed to go, but you can't fucking push it in there because the hole has been filled in. that it ruins your day. Let's say that.
Yeah. It's not a fun time. So in order to take that belly pan off, you needed a T25 Torx, you needed a whatever size triple square,
Like 10 mil,
and you needed like a 17 or a 16 millimeter socket because the back two
16,
bolts were
for the back two.
were there. And what I did find though is we just saved the 13 millimeters from rear calipers, and it was the same thread pitch. So we would always run those in and throw the triple squares. Yeah, because in addition to being fucking triple squares, the shits were super shallow. The shit was like that fucking deep. Probably not even that, like 2 millimeters deep for you to even put the tool in. So even new, they were a cluster jam. And then, of course, Jiffy Change would get a hold of it and do Lord knows what with it, like put their wiener up there to try and loosen it. And that shit doesn't work very well. And it probably hurts your wiener. I've never tried, so I don't know. But man.
You think that would we call that Johnny Oil Dick? Is he the one?
that may in fact be Johnny Oil Dick or Johnny Triple Dick. I don't know.
Yeah.
Square Dick. Johnny Square Dick.
That's a whole different movie that we're talking about, Johnny Triple Dick. Yeah. That is something else.
Well, it's taking a couple weird turns. Man, 2021 is going to be fucking fire, bro.
It has started off lit so far. All right. Lit. We are probably rounding on the end of this episode. Shitty jobs. Do you have any closing shitty jobs you'd like to discuss?
I have tried over the years to keep in mind that shitty jobs are probably not nearly as shitty as they feel at the time when you're doing them. I'll tell you another couple of shitty jobs that I hate as I'm glancing over here looking at a tool that I've purchased, a $600 tool that I've purchased to deal with said shitty jobs, is dealing with rust and rusted bolts and broken bolts. And I am not a fan of that as well. Oftentimes those jobs, though, that really do feel extra shitty with the right tools are actually not that bad. And most of the time with these shitty jobs, look, it's a mindset that you're in. It's your brain telling you this job's going to fucking suck. And so therefore it sucks. But usually they're really not that bad.
And
unless it's a Cabrio convertible, window regulator. That's the word. Oof.
Words are hard.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is when you specialize like we do, or a lot of other shops do, and dealer techs, is that the shitty job when you do it more than once becomes less shitty. Like it's still not good, right? Not awesome, not exciting, but it's not nearly as bad as the first time you did it. The first time sucks shit, but they get better. And I think a lot of it becomes in your head, and it's a mentality problem that you get trapped in the negative mindset of whatever that loops over and over again while you're doing it. It creates additional stress.
I will also say one of the shittiest jobs is the job you have to pay for or buy shit for that delivers you no other benefit than keeping your car on the road. That job sucks too.
Yeah. Well,
is that an episode?
That's an episode, guys. 2021 started off pretty weird, I have to say. We'll catch you next week.
I wonder if it's just getting weird with beers, or also what an awesome name.
Weird with beers.
Weird with beers
could be a thing.
Somebody needs to jump on that shit. I don't even need credit, but I would appreciate it. But yeah, who fucking knows? What did you think of your? I don't know, whatever that beer that I wasn't listening.
Big Wave. I liked it. It was pretty good. Yeah. Big Wave.
Did it deliver on its wavedness?
It's either Hawaiian or it culturally appropriated Hawaiian culture. I don't know which one it was, but it's not that bad. So try it.
I'm a meh on both of these. I took like 2 sips of this one, and I'm about half the way through this one. I don't know. Didn't knock my shorts off. So
IPAs, yeah, like licking a badger's asshole,
bro. Yeah. Fucking look at me. Of course I like IPAs.
Yeah, it's true. It fits. If the glove doesn't fit,
if the beard oil fits, the IPA must not acquit.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's end this before it gets real awful.
Bye.